Hamas has confirmed that the death toll, let me just move into the story now, I beg your pardon. Hamas has confirmed the death of its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, an Israeli airstrike on the densely populated southern suburbs of the capital of Lebanon, Beirut. The airstrike has heightened fears of an escalation of wider conflict in the Middle East. Israel's military said it carried out the airstrike in retaliation for a cross-border rocket attack that killed 12 children and teens on a football field in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Beirut had been on edge for days, anticipating an Israeli reprisal. Hezbollah denied involvement in the Golan attack, but said the group had fired rockets at military targets in the Golan Heights. Now, to discuss the possible consequences of this particular latest attack in the Middle East, we are joined on the line by SABC international news editor Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, a very good morning to you. Let's begin with what has just happened. This, of course, was something that happened overnight, this attack into southern, in Beirut, but in the southern areas. Can we now expect Hezbollah to retaliate?
Let's start with what happened. Yesterday in the evening, Israel launched attacks in Beirut, in Lebanon, and they were targeting the commander of the Hezbollah. We are having conflicting reports that they were able to strike the target, and also clearly other people have been killed. But on the other hand, Hezbollah and Lebanon indicated that they couldn't kill this commander of Hezbollah. As you know, that it was in retaliation with what Israel said was an attack on Golan Heights, the occupied territory by Israel and the territory belonging to the Palestinians, where 12 children were killed at the playground. And late last night, early hours of this morning, in relation to Central African time, then we got a report that there was another strike in Tehran, the capital city of Iran. And this comes at the time where you had many leaders from the Middle East who went to Tehran for the inauguration of the president of Iran. As you know, that after the death of the former president, the new president was elected. And we are told that the attack was at Ismail's house or residence, who is a more moderate leader of Hamas. And now there's fear that you have this retaliation in Lebanon, where Hezbollah might strike back, and this one in Tehran, in Iran. And the Revolutionary Guards have indicated that they will retaliate. And therefore now the tension has escalated in the Middle East. And this leader of Hamas, who's killed and whose story is massive on international broadcasters, is the man who was spearheading the ceasefire, whose children were killed 2 months ago.
So this is really now on a knife's edge, and we're also reading that Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, has been assassinated as well in Iran. I'm leading this as latest developments. I know Al Jazeera are reporting on this. So there definitely seems to be a lot of pressure in the Middle East at the moment, and real fears of a massive escalation. There are talks on the ceasefire. I mean, do you think that this is now going to almost stop these talks that are taking place?
It is going to affect the talks because he was leading the negotiations with Egypt and Qatar, and he was seen as a more moderate leader within Hamas who's willing to compromise or agree on certain key issues where there's deadlock. But now you are left with real hardliners, and therefore there's fear that this is going to derail the talks. And this happens at a time, as you know, that last week Benjamin Netanyahu was in the United States of America, where he met the presidential contenders, Kamala Harris, who emphasized that there must be peace in that region, and ceasefire must be agreed to. A similar message was communicated by the current president, Joe Biden, and of course, Donald Trump, more supportive of Benjamin Netanyahu, but he also emphasized the fact that there must be peace in the Middle East. And we expect today, later Central African time in the afternoon, when the leaders are back in office, the statement will come out from the United States of America, because they had warned Israel not to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon in retaliation to what transpired in the Golan Heights, where these kids were killed, and fearing that it will affect the ceasefire, because the Democrats leaders would really want to see this ceasefire happening before the election. On the other hand, Donald Trump, the Republican candidate, would also want this to happen during his tenure if he wins elections, so that he can be seen as a man who has stopped the Middle East conflict. As he pointed out, that if he takes office, he is going to stop the war in the Middle East and in Ukraine. Donald Trump will speak later tonight, U.S. time, towards lunchtime, SA time. I think he is going to weigh in on this matter, and he will put a blame on the Democrats for supporting or supplying arms and derailing this process to find a solution to the Middle East peace process, because now tension has really escalated. And our Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, was in Iran attending the inauguration of the president of Iran on behalf of President Cyril Ramaphosa. So I think we will also be able to speak to him as soon as he's back in the country. I don't know whether he's on his way traveling back or he's still in Iran. But I think as we get to speak to him later this week, we'll be able to get information, because he also met different leaders of the Middle East during this inauguration. On the margins of this inauguration, we'll get a sense of whether a ceasefire is possible.
All right. We have to leave it there, Sophie, but thank you. Thank you very, very much for giving us the latest on this escalation that's taking place in the Middle East at the moment, and this after an Israeli airstrike on the densely populated southern suburbs of the capital, Lebanon. And there's also been talks of a killing of the Hamas, one of its leaders, Ismail Haniyeh. So this is certainly a big story that we'll keep on watching.